Hello guys, this is What If Naruto was trained by the 7 deadly sins. The reason why is because I had problems, so yeah. And right now it's 1:07, like, I have a sleeping problem where I want to sleep, but then I can't. I'm just going to do this one chapter, then I'm going to sleep. I do not care. It's going to be 10 minutes or 20. So yeah. I had to find this thumbnail for a very long time. When Naruto had woken up the next day, his magic powers still weren't at 100%. So Elizabeth decided to change of pace. And his training was required, the type of training that consumed less magic compared to the 7 deadly sins magic power. As Naruto went down for breakfast, he met up with Elizabeth, who stopped him and said, "Excuse me, Naruto-san. I know you're eager to master all the seven deadly sins' powerful abilities, but perhaps until your magic fully recovers." Wait, did I read this? Yeah, I read this. He learned Elizabeth's powers. Yeah, I did read this. It was Elizabeth. It's about, the whole thing is just about Elizabeth's powers and her training Naruto. Okay, this is the last chapter. Those were all just the one that I read. Training with Gother, the Goatson of Lust, Battle of Minds. After training with Elizabeth had taken some time on training. Needless to say, his time off didn't last long, as he knew he had three of the last seven sins training with him. And his current opponent was the most frightening. Gother, Goatson of Lust, was curious if Naruto's mind was stable or not, so he decided to test out his theory by training Naruto in a battle of mentality. Gother would use invasion to try and manipulate Naruto's memories while Naruto was fighting against him. Gother then said, "Greetings, Naruto. I am Gother, the sin of lust, and I will train you in my ability known as invasion. Using this ability is quite different from the other sins. The reason for why my abilities are different is because I can use them to erase memories and create new ones. Simply put, my abilities are more mentally challenging and draining. Today's training will consist of me invading your mind, and you must attempt to force me out. We will continue the same training for the 2 weeks before you train with me with Merlin magic abilities. Her magic is even more taxing on your magic power than the rest of us because they're more advanced. You're strong physically, but mentally and emotionally you're still quite weak. By my estimate, I'd say your current power level is with the Archangel Mael alone. Puts you at the same level as Captain in his assault mode. Currently, your current power level is whatever, which is only 4,000s above Escanor in its sunshine mode. 118,000. That's what it is. If you ever hope master of the sin of wrath, you become emotionally and mentally prepared for the side effects. If you lose control of the darkness within your heart, rage and anger can only be overcome by love and compassion by someone else. I'll attempt to force you into a subconscious state of your rage, and you must control the rage to suppress it and make it your own strength. And then Naruto said, I am not sure that's a good idea, Gotha-sensei. If you force me into a state of mind where my rage again, the Nine-Tailed Fox will take over my body and try to kill you. The Nine-Tailed power is fueled by those emotions. Merlin then said, No need to worry about that fox destroying us or possessing our body. I've got a spell that nobody can break out, not even a lower level demon spirit like Kitsune, perfect cube. Merlin had cast her impenetrable barrier around Gotha and Naruto's body, so nobody else would get hurt. Merlin then said, That should hold back whatever the fox can pull off. No demon has ever escaped because of its origin. A spell of safe origin from the demon race. Time to sit back and watch the show. Care to join us, Captain? Melody said, I don't see why not. At least I get to see firsthand how much the wrath this demon fox has and how dangerous it could be. Whatever you're ready. Gotha then said, I'd advise you to please remain perfectly still while we're doing this. Otherwise, it will be very painful experiments for you. Invasion. Rewrite light. Naruto then screamed out in sight of pain and agony as Gotha infiltrated his mind. And even though it was only his memories, he couldn't help but shed tears for Naruto as he'd seen Naruto's past beating, insults, and restimates towards him from the villagers. As he made his way deeper into Naruto's memories, he made a certain memories the faces of each person and their family names that should be decided to take vengeance out on. He knew exactly where to look for and who to look for. Gotha then said, Such a pain, so much sadness and sorrow, and yet he still persevered through the loneliness and never retailed against his attackers. Why? What purpose would serve him if he not fight back? Brother then said, Very interesting. Even though they hate and resent him for what he contains, he still holds no grudges. Instead, he pities them, and keeps moving forward. I wonder why. Gotha then said, I'm gonna push him even further now. Hopefully I can drop his hidden rage with a simulator of the person he closest to, watch them die in front of him. I know you think this is risky, but I will take responsibility. Invasion. Living nightmare. Go inside Naruto's mindscape. Naruto was constantly alert, keeping his senses open, and he felt a shift in his surrounding as he watched his friends being killed. Sasuke was first, second Ino, then Tenten, Shikamaru, Nara, Choji, Akamichi, and finally the major trigger and pushed him over the edge, Hinata being beaten to near death by her own family just for being unable to prove herself and live up to her father's expectations. Naruto then heard Gotha's behind him as blood began to boil and his mind was flooded in rage and anger, and Gotha said, This is merely a simulation, but the emotional pain you're feeling is very much real. I'm surprised you shed no tears for the other girls, but the blue-haired girl in particular you seem quite fond of. My assessment of this situation outcome was simply to push you over the edge and draw out this rage and anger. Now that we have succeeded, it's time to see if you can control it. Rewrite light. Suddenly, a loud roar from behind Gotha was heard. As he turned around, he noticed his dark eyes and hateful glares of the Nine-Tailed staring at him. Your power to overwhelm my ability is useless. While you remain behind the cage, Fox, you're no more imitating me than a human is to a god, who can erase entire civilization now. Invasion, blackout. The QB thought to himself, these people, they're powerful, even more powerful than me. For some reason, I can't break free from this mortal's power. It's not a genjutsu, and it's not an alternate personality. Either who are these people and what kind of power do they possess. This one can apparently infiltrate minds and either rewrite memories or worse, erase them entirely. Very interesting indeed. Seems like the Shinigami-sama had plans for the boy's future outside Naruto's mind. Naruto's now, what I did was simply simulate them and put them in your situation you're going to eventually have to face one day. When you're in this situation, there's someone you deeply care about is nearly dying. Before you put your life or death situation, your only option is to keep a level head and control your emotion. The sin of wrath isn't meant to be taken lightly under by any circumstances. Captain Meliodas once lost control and nearly destroyed everyone he cared about. He gave into his own darkness and power, corrupted his mind by stripping him of his emotion. Captain was once a general of the demon race. That should tell you how dangerous it is to consumed by your emotions. Each time you show improvement, I'm going to increase the level of difficulty. We are going to be able to naturally control your temper. Good evening, Bon. What's for lunch today? And Bon said, "Don't ask me. I'm leaving all the cooking in my assistant chef hands today. So Elaine and me can spend a lot of good time together." With a slight smirk. Trust me, his cooking skills are far beyond anything. Alright, hey kid. Make sure you don't forget to clean up afterwards. And don't forget to keep practicing your thievery skills as well. You're getting better, but until you can catch me off guard, you still need practice. Naruto then said, "Oh, you mean this sacred treasure? Korra house? You too distracted then it comes to drinking booze. That you have seemed to have noticed that you're letting your guard down, Bon-sensei. Well, since I've managed to catch you off guard, as you put it in, I'll be looking forward to our weapons training tomorrow. This same could be said for Meliodas-sensei. I'm pretty sure this beautiful dagger was yours, right?" Meliodas then checked his scabbard on his back and held the sacred treasure lost vein and realized it was missing. Meliodas then said, "Wait, when did you manage to take the lost vein from me with me noticing? I'm always aware of my surrounding, and so is Bon, so how?" Naruto then pointed up above everyone's head. At least 90% of the time, people are aware of their surrounding, but they never seem to think about looking above them or below them. What was the first rule of thievery? All right, now I remember. Never return what you have stolen. Naruto was now shrouded in the Nine-Tails power and red chakra cloaked himself as he tried harder to stay focused and not lose control. Meliodas was surprised the amount of killing intent Naruto was giving off. The killing intent was almost rivaling his own in assault mode. Naruto then stood up from his chair. He was in, and he let out a massive rage. He said, "Get out of my head. Ra, leave my memories alone. Those thoughts are private and personal." Gotha was then forced out of Naruto's mind as his invasion spells were instantly shattered and broken. As Gotha was then grabbed by his arm, Naruto spun him around a repeated 360 motion and threw him against the perfect cube barrier, causing it to shake a little. Meliodas said, "I've got to admit it. This one powerful demon inside him. I'd say Gotha was actually underestimating this kid. Power level. Before it was only 400 above Escanor. Now it's nearly half of my power in assault mode." "What you reading on the power level, Hawk? Give us a rundown." And Hawk said, "Previous power level was 118,000. Currently power levels is strength 60,000, magic 20,000, spirit 1,000. Total power level is 81,000 and rising. Now it's 162,000. Oh crap, this is crazy. Power level is now 324,000. Meliodas then got serious look on his face and said, I'm beginning to understand what's going on. It seems like the anger he gets, the more powerful his power level rises. It is about at least double every time. That's going to be a problem right now. Even with assault mode, it's going to take a lot of us to stop him. I'm holding off his training using my abilities. Currently, he's not ready yet. Back with Gother and Naruto. Gother had just gotten behind Naruto and grabbed his head. His head returned Naruto's memories to normal. As the Naruto's power faded away, Naruto came back to his senses. Gother then said, "I'm impressed. Nobody has been able to free themselves from my invasion ability before. Your emotional state of mind is very strong. Sadly, you were only able to control your temper for a good 30 minutes before losing control. We will continue to work on this issue until you no longer feel anger or rage. Anger is a key, and rage is at the door that the key unlocks. Your mind is like a doorway to your emotions. The more you control you have, easier it will be control your power." And Naruto said, "So I lost control and failed your test. I guess I'll have to work harder to control my emotion then." Meliodas must think I'm not going to be ready to train his ability. I guess we need to keep working until I manage to control myself. And Gother said, "I didn't expect you to perfect my test on your first day of training. My tests are more advanced than the others. The more sins you master, the more advanced the training shall become. Now then, shall we put the same mindset and see what the kind of result we obtain afterwards? I would recommend you to listen to the fox, or he will control you. I would not listen to the fox, or it will control your body." Well, looks like they'll belong to me now. Look like these belong to me now. The only person I'm not crazy or strong enough to steal from at this moment is Lady Merlin Sensei. She's too powerful for me to even think of stealing from her sacred treasure. From what I understand, let's see, everyone and everything around her, even if I suppress my magic power level near 0, she'd catch me stealing from her, and currently my level would be suicide. Everyone else except Merlin and Gother was speechless. Naruto managed to swipe not just Bond's sacred tear, but Meliodas as well. To do such a thing took an exceptional stealth and precision timing to pull off. Gother then said, "He's not wrong. From the logic standpoint, trying to steal as much as a book from Merlin private study without her aware is impossible. In order to steal from someone like Merlin, you would have to separate her from her sacred treasure, Aldan, and since she keeps it close to her at all times, trying it so it's just as Naruto said, impossible and suicidal. You would have a crazy and foolish enough to think otherwise." Meliodas said, "That's great and all, but until I've decided you're ready, you passed Gother's and Merlin's tests. I have to hold on unless lost a vein until then. I never thought about looking above me in a battle, especially if I was facing a powerful opponent. Sometimes the best offense is defense." That's how you managed to steal lost a vein from it, grabbed, and you stole Courthouse from Bond while he's drunk, which gave you a perfect opportunity for an opening that you needed because he already passed out. Am I right? Bond then said, "I have to admit that even both your theory attempts were successfully because you analyzed the skill between me and the captain's tolerance to alcohol. Since you knew the captain was from the demon race, you knew he wouldn't be able to get drunk as easily. I'm quite impressed. You actually improved your skill. Haha, you truly are a fox in the sheep's clothing, aren't you?" King then said, "I've got one question. You stole from Bond and the captains. What made you decide not to steal from me? You could have just as easily stole chastely out of my underneath me." "Who stopped you?" Naruto said, "Fairy Law clearly states that the theory amongst fairies is forbidden, and I should act as be committed. The fairy who had stolen from the fellow fairies would lose their magic and be forced out of the fairy king and never return. In other words, I have no interest in stealing from the current fairy king because I would be breaking the fairy law. Plus, what reason would I have to steal what I haven't earned, especially the king of all fairies? And King said, for some reason I've completely forgotten about that. I'm surprised that you managed to find out about it. Now I'm curious where you found it out. And Arch said, it was inside one of my scrolls my parents left me. I opened up in the storage, and inside one my mom left me a large book labeled Fairy Laws of the Fairy King Forest. Apparently my mother was from the Fairy King for the fairy race, but she was from the same lineage as the first fairy king among us, almost as if she was a descendant of the first fairy king Loxenia, which means that everyone before her came from the Fairy King Forest. Which means that I'm the next line to become the next fairy king and druid chief. This shocked King to his very soul. Naruto was the descendant of the fairy king Loxenia and a druid chief's son. He was beginning to wonder if the kids go to any bombshell secrets he isn't telling them. Merlin then said, I'm not sure if this helps out or anything, but I've actually been here to his specific place before. It's why I have a secret lab hidden under the temple. I once met your parents, and they said that in the event that something happens to them, I want to train you in the ways of magic. Surprisingly enough, they made me your godmother and Meliodas your godfather. The other sins would also train you. It was until the mark of our sins were placed on you and you unlocked the temple. Not even the old fool knew that we were watching you every move. And how the people of this village have treated you, you made my blood boil to the point I want to exterminate them all. We had stuck to the shadows in the event. This shocked Naruto to his very soul. All the time he had people looking out for him. They weren't the unreliable Ambu Black Ops and actually managed to avoid gaze of the Hokage's crystal ball. Naruto then said, wait a minute. Rewind the last part. You two are my godparents, and you've been watching me over me all those years? Masked bastard Ambu people? How did I even notice? Or at least sense you? And Naruto said, alright, it's a simple reason for you couldn't sense us is because you hadn't unlocked your magic. Try processing everything he'd just been told by Merlin. He gripped his head in confusion, and he, getting over his shocked state, passed out, having full hour before walking off. After Naruto waking up himself and the others' after lunch was over, Merlin had once again put her perfect cube there, and they waited for Gother to begin Naruto's mental training. This time Naruto lasted a full hour. Gother then said, very impressive. You're improving your resistance to your own rage. You have managed to remain in control for a full hour before you lost control and the fox took over your free will. Your resistance to its influence grew stronger in each day. We'll end the training for today and proceed further with you training again tomorrow. We'll have 30 more days to go before you start training with Merlin and Meliodas. You're going to need everything you have learned from me. No, dinner is ready in the dining room area. No need to thank me, just make sure you clean the dishes afterwards. Hawk then said, yes, sir. Assistant Chief Naruto, sir. Please don't roast me alive. As Naruto's first training with Gother improved. Eventually, Naruto would master all 7 once that happens, all the bets were off. It was anything goes, no hold barrel fight in his life. Eventually, Naruto would master all 7 sins and they were sacred gear, after which Merlin had trained. I think I'm going to finish here, so I'm going to bed. Make sure you subscribe And like, I know this isn't long. It's probably because my throat hurts. No homo, and I'm sleepy. And plus, I'm supposed to be at bed. And thank you for watching. Please make sure you join my Discord and subscribe and comment and like. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.